Hi, welcome to Chrissy's Cooking at Home. This morning it is bright and early, 6:30. I want to make French bread for our dinner tonight, and it's gonna be hot because it's August. It's gonna be hot, so we want to get it done early so we don't I don't like to overtax the central air unit, so do it early while it's still relatively cool out and just get it done. So it's basic French bread. So 2 cups of water, warm, around 110 degrees in my mixer, my beautiful KitchenAid Pro 600 series. Then after 2 cups of warm water's in, not that one, this one, teaspoon, 2 teaspoons of yeast. Sprinkle that on top of the water all around. Don't just dump it in one spot. So that's 1 teaspoon, 2 teaspoons. Okay, so 2 teaspoons of yeast, 2 cups of water. Easy enough to remember. Then we are going to need just one little lonely teaspoon of sugar. We want a nice crusty bread. Okay, so we're gonna let that sit, not stirring, just let it sit for 5 minutes. So this is what the inside of my mixing bowl looks like. That's it, just the yeast on top of the water and the sugar on top of the yeast. So 5 minutes. And our 5 minutes is up. Well, that was really fast for you, wasn't it? Really, really fast. Okay, so I'm going to show you what the bowl looks like. Sorry for the brightness. But, see, there's a little foamy on top. I'll put you back. Because I need 2 hands. Alright, so then we're going to take our salt. Regular table salt. Nothing fancy. Teaspoon, 1 whole teaspoon. Sprinkle it on top. I'm sorry, I lied. 2 teaspoons of salt. So it's 2 cups of water, 2 teaspoons of yeast, 2 teaspoons of sugar, 2 teaspoons of salt. Now we're gonna do flour. So, flour open here. Put my measuring spoons in my apron pocket. First, we're gonna add just 4 cups, but we're gonna use anywhere between 5.5 to 7 cups. Again, depending on weather, humidity, time of day, and the moon rising. So, scoop and level and 1. And level and 2. We're gonna do 4. Scoop level 3. And scoop level 4. We're gonna use our paddle attachment. Okay, because we're gonna beat this to develop the gluten. Up. We're going to get it incorporated because we don't want flour flying everywhere. Okay, so when it looks like this, it's incorporated, it's wet. No flour is going to go flying. Now we are going to turn it up. We're going to turn it up to about medium speed, so in the middle. So for me, that's 6, between 5, 6, and 7 on mine. So if you have a medium, go for medium. And we're going to do the medium on medium for 5 minutes. I wanted to bring you back just a few seconds before I turn off the mixer so you can see what it's supposed to look like Very elastic, a little smooth. We're developing that gluten to get a nice crusty bread. Look at that. Alright, now you may hear the coffee pot going in the background because while I was mixing, I do multitasking. We're going to take out our paddle attachment. I just use my fingers and just kind of scrape it back into the bowl. Okay. Into the sink for the dishwasher, aka me. Okay, so we're going to put on our hook. Okay, we're going to mix in the rest of our flour, just a half a cup at a time. Okay, we want a nice stiff dough, but we don't want it dry. So it's just on low. Rinse my fingers. Good texture. So, currently mixing in the first of the half a cup of the rest of our flour. Might as well rinse off the hook while I'm here. Now, if you're an experienced bread baker, like even minute experience, you get a feel for what the dough is supposed to look like in the bowl. That took some practice on my part because I was a lot hands, not much mixers. Then I got too weak for that, so mixer is my best friend. I need a spatula or rubber scraper. Alright, scrape it down just a little bit because there's just a little bit of flour that's being stubborn and staying on the sides. Alright, so we're getting there. So, and I wear an apron because I trimmer and I twitch and jerk. Twitches make me jerk. I'm not a jerk, I jerk. There's a difference. Okay, so another half a cup of flour going in. I'll show you what that looks like. I just dumped in a little bit more flour. Stir, and then it goes up 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. You just don't see the 1 and 3. You don't see the odd numbers. That's looking good. May need a little bit more flour. Let me see. It's not climbing the hook. That's good. We don't want it to climb the hook. Climbing the hook is too wet. We're gonna just, I will get better at this camera thing. I will. Just gonna kind of push this loose flour up against dough. Okay, I don't think we're gonna need any more flour. Looks like our humidity is low at 6:30 in the morning, which surprised me. I didn't check the weather. Well, I did. I knew it was going to be hot today. I just didn't know the humidity. Okay. It's looking really good. So I'm going to let this go for another minute or two. Make sure it's all together. Okay, it's coming together real nice. Alright, now that it's pretty much a blob, I am going to leave this going on the lowest setting possible, which is stir on my machine, and set the timer for 8 minutes. Now, if you're doing this by hand, stir in as much flour as you can by hand, and then knead it on your counter using more flour as needed. You do not want a sticky dough. This is not a sticky dough. And then knead it for about 10 minutes, adding flour as needed so it's not sticky. Since the machine's doing it, it's a little faster. And I went ahead and turned on the bread proofing function on my oven just because it'll rise faster for me that way. Be back in 10. And it's been 10 minutes. This is what our dough looks like. Sorry for the brightness at first. It's better than it. So, this is what our dough looks like. It's not looking like the smoothest thing, but you can see it's not sticking to me. So, let me pull it out. Now, what I have found with this mixer, check the motor, it's not too hot, is that after it's done its thing, if I take it out, oh, that thing's heavy, and kind of work with it, shape it into a ball, it's smooth. So, got a little bit of dough sticking to my hand because I dug in too deep. Alright, so now what I have is a bowl with some oil in it, and just a little bit, like a tablespoon or two of vegetable oil. You can use canola oil, you can use olive oil, doesn't matter, use Crisco. So, just a bowl of oil. I gotta learn to see what I'm doing through the camera, not next to it. Or my phone, rather. I'll get a camera. Okay, so nice and oiled. We're gonna put a clean tea towel over this, stick it in my oven. In my oven, it'll proof in about 30 minutes. On a counter, if you can find a nice draft-free place, should proof in about an hour. We want it to be about doubled. Like, not completely doubled, but almost doubled. We're gonna get, you can get 3 long baguettes out of this, or what I'm gonna do is 6 individual size serving baguette. It's almost, it's a little bit above the rim of this bowl. It's a pretty small, it's not small, but it's one of my smaller mixing bowls. All right, who loves this part? And there went the oil, but that's okay. Cooking can get messy. Oh, I got everything out except for my bench scraper. Okay, so we got egg separator, little custard cup, tablespoon of water, 2 eggs, another custard cup, and a lid, fork, baking sheet with parchment, a silicone brush, and a very, very sharp knife. So let me get my bench scraper. Move the oily bowl out of everything but. Go figure. Okay, I'm just gonna move the eggs and the water, the lid to that, and the fork. Okay, so let's see if I can get you to see what I am doing. That kind of works. Yes, my apron is dirty because why? Because we're making bread, and aprons are meant to get dirty. That way your clothes do not get dirty. So that is my opinion on it. All right, so I want 6. Okay. I'm a little obsessive. Scale. You do not have to be obsessive. Working in a bakery, we weighed everything because it had to be perfect. So we're just going to cut each half into thirds. And then, see, this already looks a lot bigger than the other half did. A lot bigger. Okay. I just throw them all on there and get an idea, an average size. This is a big one. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to roughly do each one about 7 ounces. Put that one on top of that one. A little more off. Okay. Around 7.3 ounces. Okay. Then you saw me. I took some pieces. No big deal. Going to shape each one into a ball and set aside. Now, there's plenty of oil left on this dough that I am not worried about it drying out while I shape them. If you feel concerned that they are going to dry out, these balls, just put your clean tea towel you used while it was proofing, all the bubbles out, on top of it. And then just pull one out, one at a time, to work on. Okay. Come on, bubbles. Okay. Is that a bubble or a bump? That's a bump. You hear it squishy? Squishy from the oil. Squishy, squishy, squishy. Okay, so ball. Bring it closer to me. Maybe right now you're with my mortar and pestle. So I'm gonna try to scoot you back further. Now you're up against the wall. And you can see the bottom of my cabinet. It's okay. My really old hood. All right. Now my counter is a little oily from dumping the dough out. Not really dumping, I picked it up and plopped. Okay. If it is not oily, you can do flour to keep from sticking. So when I roll things out like this, I think back to childhood days. Play-Doh Fun Factory. You can just start in the middle, gently press down and out. But I use my whole hand, my fingers, pick it up, because it's going to shrink back. It's not going to stay as long. So you want to see where you're at. Okay, that's good. That is roughly 6 inches. On to the next. one. Super sharp knife. You want about a 1/2 inch down. You want it seems really, really deep. It does. Let's see if I can get it. Anyways, like, see, it seems really, really deep. So it's the Children's Hospital for this area, and it caters to so many counties for so many parents to come really far from home. Like I said, 1 hour and 20 minutes from my house. They would be there with nothing, because they would be at the emergency room at their local hospital. They would hop in the ambulance with their kid, ride with their kid up to the children's hospital or over to whichever way they were going. And they would have no clothes. They would have no toiletries. They would have, a lot of times, not much money, if any money, if they even grabbed their wallet before leaving their home to take their kid to the emergency room. That happens a lot because you're in a panic. There is something seriously wrong, and off you go. So I saw it too much, and I was sick of it. The Children's Hospital is amazing. They do so much for those kids. So much. Okay, 15 minutes in my proof. Now, you don't want it to let it proof too long at that stage. Let's get our egg wash ready. Let's move our super sharp knife. Now, I wanted to do toiletry bags. Okay, I took off my apron. I don't think I need it right now. I could be wrong. But I'm not dealing with flour or sugar or maybe just lint. Okay, so like I said, I pulled these out. The oven is preheating. It's taking its time. It's at 235 right now. So I just standing here because if I sit down, I might not get back up. If I needed to sit down, I keep my bench seat walker in here. So if I needed to sit down, I can just sit down and kind of use my toes to pedal, not really pedal, but drag myself where I need to go. Anyways, I made sure to break up the big snots. That's what I call them, big snots. It's not what it's called, but you can see it's just more cohesive with that little bit of water. And it's a little frothy. Okay, so don't put your towel in the egg whites. Okay. Let me show you. This is after 15 minutes. Now, like I said, 6 individual loaves. You can see that with the slight proofing we have opened. And you can see some I didn't get. See the big air bubbles? There we go. And that's okay. Because again, this is for me and my family. I am not selling this to anybody. Ta-da! So what we're going to do now, there. We're going to brush it. Then we're going to bake it for 15 minutes. Pull it out, brush it again, pop it back in for 10 to 15 more. Oven at 450 for 30 minutes. Oy. Okay, can you see? I'm getting all along the sides. And again, it's a parchment lined baking sheet. It's a half sheet. I used to do this on a quarter sheet, but I love having the half sheet I got at my local restaurant supply chain that is open to the public. So they sell in bulk some things, like these baking sheets. They sell in bulk, but you can buy them individually. That's where I got my quarter sheet many, many years ago. I wouldn't say many. Oh my goodness. I've only lived here 13 years. I got him about 13 years ago. I love him. He's a good baking sheet. And he is not shiny and pretty like this anymore. He has developed that brownish residue I blame on nonstick sprays. Not being able to get it scrubbed off very well after it has been baked on. But I try my best. And I'm very much in love with Sam's Club's parchment paper. I just couldn't make it to Sam's Club the last time I got parchment paper that I was out. So I just grabbed some at the store. I got the name brand. It's okay. If you know baking, you know what brand I'm talking about. I'm not going to say it. The Sam's Club Members Mark brand parchment paper. What I love. 2 big fat rolls. Lasted me 4 years. And I go on baking sprees sometimes where I bake a lot. Like I've baked a lot the last couple of days. Just going over it again. So I know it still seems like a lot, but you don't want to run shy when you're trying to get this coated for a second time. $3.95, almost there. And then have to separate another egg, add a little water, whip it up. Just making sure. Now, what you can do instead of parchment is grease it with, I don't know, Crisco, lard, vegetable or canola oil, not olive oil, not Pam, or nonstick spray, whatever you want to call it. And then lightly dust your baking sheet with cornmeal. That's how I prefer it. But Mr. Logan is sensitive to textures of foods. He does not like the cornmeal crunch. I love the cornmeal crunch on French bread and pizzas. He hates it. He won't eat it. And I cater to him more now than I used to. Okay, pop it in the oven. Because America runs on Dunkin'. Okay, so 15 minutes. Hot oven. Close that door. Oven is off. AC is running like crazy. It's just outside my kitchen window and to the left. Can you see? Can you see how pretty? I think I have all the lights. I do not have all the lights. Okay, can you see a little more? As I knock things off my dish drainer. Hot bread, come here. Come here, come here. Can you see? See how beautiful? It smells like a bakery. It smells like a bakery, and it seriously does. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna move this to the stove top. It's getting heavier, I swear. I'm going to see if I can do this from my locker. Get my breadboard. I've had this for a very long time. About 20 years now. And then it's pretty close to 20 when I got this. 19 or 20 years old when I got this breadboard. You see it's grooved. catches the crumbs. And there's really good cut marks in this because the stuff I have to cook with, I cook with. I do not buy something to look at. That is a waste of money. Okay. Cooling rack. Pamper Chef. I don't sell it anymore. No, these are hot. We're gonna take our pot holder here. I gotta get these off so they don't sweat, because if they sweat, then the bottom is gonna be soggy and not crispy crunchy. And we want crispy crunchy, especially since we are dipping in the au jus. So, see how pretty? Hot. I'm trying to think, how can I cut this open while it's hot to show you? Okay. Can you hear? I don't know. I don't know if you can hear it. I don't know. But usually I would hold it like this, decide how big I want my bottom, considering that's what's going to hold the meat. Okay, let me show you why I'm on the walker. So, we will do it on its side. It is a very hard crust. Can you hear it? I dipped down. You ready? Okay, so there's the top. There's the bottom. Ta-ta-ta! Nice, dense, with some air in there. You can see on this one where I dug down, but that's okay, it's just for the family. So the meat will go on this, and then put this on top. However way you want to put it on top. And then dip it in your au jus. Dip it in your soup. Just cut it into rings, make crostinis for appetizers. If you make the big long loaves, 3 long loaves. But that recipe, 3 long loaves will get you a lot of little rings for crostini appetizers. Yeah, that's it. 1 hour and 15 minutes to show you the bread. And I tried to pause for a lot of it, but I rambled. So, if you like this recipe, comment below. If you want to see more of what I'm going to post up, subscribe and hit the bell for all notifications. I will get more tech savvy with this because I like the YouTubers I'm following, so they are inspiring me. All right, I hope you try the French bread. Enjoy.